I'm just going to quickly introduce Ben. You may have also seen.
What's that, man?
You've probably also seen a promo video for the Des Moines UAV Club that we put on our page. Ben came to us and said he wanted to make a promo for us, so we said, sure, we'd love that, and did an awesome job and brought people's videos in from around the group and just did a great job with that. So I'll go ahead and read his bio we got here. So he's going to be talking about storytelling with drones. Since moving to Des Moines, and this is the first person, so I'll just read it now.
Okay.
Since moving to Des Moines and starting with my business in May 2018, I've gained many friends and have grown even more than I ever thought possible as a business owner and video creator. My favorite part of being a videographer is interacting with clients and watching them go from fiancés to spouses and creating a unique video highlight reel that provides clients with a film they cherish forever. Looking back now, it all started with me buying a drone. And I also have to say, today's Star Wars Day, so welcome and happy Star Wars Day. So I found a perfect shirt for that. All yours.
All right, cool. It's called Storytelling with Drones. I don't know if it's, yeah, you can call it storytelling. It's mostly going to be me telling you my process through everything related with the drone and how I use it on a wedding day and the process. Okay, so how does a drone impact my business? Well, just the fact that I pretty much started this wedding videography. I don't know if I'd call it wedding videography. I want to get more into businesses and stuff like that, but it started by me buying a drone, and I asked one of my buddies if I could film his wedding, and I used the drone and my iPhone. And after that, I asked my dad if he could help me and invest in some equipment. And it's just taken off since then. One of my buddies he did drone filming for farms. I don't know if there's anybody in here that does anything with that, but where you can go and inspect crops and stuff like that. And I thought it was awesome, so I decided to buy a drone. And whenever we have clients interested in, they want to use us, they'll contact us and say, hey, are you available? And we usually send them a questionnaire, ask them a few questions, what do you like about our videos, just so we can get an idea. And there's one main thing that kind of stands out in everybody's response to us, and it's all related to the drone. So here you can see, they talk a little bit about our videos, but then they say, I also love the drone footage. I like the drone footage. Also, the drone footage is amazing. We've had clients say that they really didn't care about the other video, they just wanted the drone stuff. So I was like, all right. So yeah, and this here I'm gonna have I like to use drones at the beginning of my videos. It kind of helps establish what's going on that day. So I put together a few of my the intros to some of my videos.
Can somebody show me where the beginning of it is? No? Can you show me where the end of it is? That's something that's nice about rings.
This was actually my very first wedding.
Wedding.
It was free. I did it for free under my
No
actual
beginning,
business.
No end.
Also, I cut once the drone stuff was done. I kind of cut.
Two things are evident today.
This is the same wedding, but this is their highlight
God
reel
views marriage
introduction.
in a way that society doesn't.
One thing you'll notice is I like to use
Are to walk
voiceovers.
beside their men, not
of the
behind
day.
them, and not in front of them. Why? Because God created
Does anybody
man
recognize
and
that
woman
location?
equal to one another. Man does
What's
not
that?
have his thumb on her,
No.
nor does she
I
have
think
his
I have
thumb
another
on him.
shot from the
They are
same
equal
spot.
in the sight of God.
Yeah, and I think this is the first wedding that I started to use sound with my drone shots. added in some like birds and stuff like that. Looking back at some of my wedding, some of my videos, I'm thinking, why was I exposing it like that? This one was like 20-mile-an-hour winds, and I almost lost the drone. It was,
"26 years ago and some 9.5 months, I don't know what it was, Josie came into our lives. Josie made her grand entrance, and she was pretty impatient from the start. It was a 2-hour short, precipitous labor followed by delivery and 2 solid hours of screaming.
I think one of the hardest parts about doing these drone shots.
Unfortunately, it didn't
like
stop there. It turned into
video
toddler tantrums and
like,
eventually
I have to find a
screaming
way
matches
to make it
as a
different
teenager,
than the other videos.
mostly with her
Can't, like,
mother.
do the same shots, or I have to.
Now these matches,
change them up every once in a while,
these
and
discussions, I should say,
that
were of
can be,
great
kind of a
interest to her
challenge.
older brother Jared and his friends like Jake over here, who would sit on the steps around the corner waiting for a lull in the festivities where they'd offer some kind of comment that.
This is same wedding. This is their highlight reel. Their first sneak peek can be like 3 to 4 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes, and then their highlight reels like 10 to 15 usually. And I'd say throughout the video I probably have 5 to 6 drone shots. Now this is probably one of my favorite shots, but I don't recommend doing this unless you feel very comfortable flying the drone without your sensors on. You see me there in the bottom left. Yeah. Another tip for doing that is to start there, to start next to it and move backwards and then put it in reverse.
Never forget this day and how you felt towards each other.
In most of these videos, you can see a red car.
If you're ever mad at each other, just try to remember how you fell in love with each other, because
now
you
they
have something like really special. It's lasted a long time, and now you're starting this beautiful day together and this beautiful life, and you have a little family with a dog, and just don't ever forget the true love that you guys always feel. You could work through anything. Anything is possible. Yeah, I don't want to cry.
Okay, this is my most recent highlight reel. This one I changed it up, and I was pretty happy
Back
with
when Brad's in middle school,
how I
he
used
showed family
the
dairy cow at the
drone.
Washington County Fair. Maddie also did the same, but she was in a different class. A few years go by, and we're outside talking after chores, and he says, "Well, Carl, I think I'm going to go on a date pretty soon." "Oh, really? With who?" "Well, I'm going to go on a date. Well, with Madison Roth." "Well, no, you're not." He says, "Yeah, I'm serious. And you want to bet?" "I'll take that bet. $10? All right, sure, yeah, let's do it." Well, little do I know, he pulls it through, and here they are, 4 or 5 years later, on their wedding day, and I couldn't be happier. But the saddest part of the story is that I never paid the man.
This one here this is the last one I'm going to show you, but this one is by far my favorite one, the one I'm most proud of, just because everything timed out perfectly with the drone. And the sounds I added, I was pretty happy with it. There's one thing I didn't like about it is I had warp stabilizer on it, and it kind of made the water tower shake a little bit. Yeah, totally.
Love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, it is not pompous, it is not inflated, it is not rude. It does not seek its own interest, it is not quick tempered, it does not cry over injury. It does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails.
All right, so yeah, that was just some of the intros to the videos I do. So yeah, so what I'm gonna tell you a little about is the pre-production, actually like getting the shots, and then what happens later when I edit, and like tips and stuff like that. So yeah, so for the pre-production, you got to meet with the clients, the people that are interested in like my work, planning for the location for flying, and then getting approval if you need it, and preparing for the flight. When I meet with my clients, I've had too many times where I've told them, oh yeah, we're going to get all these drone shots, it's going to be really good, and then come to find out the weather is really bad, or I didn't look into the regulations until like the day before, and I ended up not getting approval. So right away I try to be upfront, and this is just a snippet from the contract that I send them. It just says drone capabilities vary per weather conditions and FAA rules and regulations. So yeah, so if they tell you far enough in advance, then you can get approval. And I'm a huge fan of this this Lance now. It's so fast. This was one back in October. The bride and groom wanted to get footage of them walking on the bridges, and so I had to request it, and I think, I don't know, you guys might be able to know, the yellow line here, I think this is over here is 0. Is that right? Yeah. So the top two on the, I think it's the top two. It doesn't say in this one, but either way, the two of them were approved like right away. They're like, yeah, no problem. And then the bottom one, it took I think 2 days maybe, and air traffic control just called me to verify, hey, what are you doing? Just told them what's going on, and then like shortly after the call, then I got an email saying they were all 3 approved. So yeah, having that kind of, then I'll let the clients know, hey, I got approved, and makes them happy. Some of this next stuff I'm going to tell you about, I think I learned last year at the, I think Kevin might have presented about it. I do this a lot. When I meet with clients, I'll ask them like, okay, where's your church reception? And I'll go to Google Earth, and I just kind of get a look at it and kind of show them what I'm thinking would be a cool angle. And yeah, and if it's in a like city like Des Moines, you can get a nice 3D view. Sometimes out in the country, it'll just be flat. And these apps right here, these are all the stuff I use related to drone. I've only used Verifly. I've been fortunate enough where I haven't had a bunch of stuff where I've needed Verifly, but there are some instances like I think I needed it for Iowa State's campus. You have to have insurance for that. UNI, I think you have to have that. AirMap is nice. I use this quite a bit on days where it's pretty windy. And then, obviously that one, but then Kevin, I think, told us about the weather underground last year, maybe. So also what I'll do is I'll verify across multiple platforms the weather conditions for that day, just so I can make sure everything's gonna be good. The thing that's cool about this one is you can actually set up smart forecasts. So you can set, so I think I have mine set to 0 to 10 mile an hour winds, no rain, 0 to 80% cloud cover. And then down here it shows you the times of the days that it'd be best for that. So then you know, oh, hey, I can go fly between Thursday and Friday, or looks like a good weekend to go flying. And then that other one is the wind thing. And the thing I like about that one is it tells you the gusts. It'll tell you what's wind, but those gusts, those things can get you. All right, so the night before, I know this is kind of, some people think different. I know Danny, he actually reverted back to a firmware for his drone because he had issues with it. Typically though, for me, at least with my Mavic Air, I like to turn it on the night before and make sure everything's up to date and everything's running good. So yeah, and then I plug everything in, make sure everything's good to go. Make sure the SD card is clear, which I actually didn't do that today. So I have a bunch of drone footage from my previous wedding. Hopefully I don't run out of space. And then I like to actually go in and adjust my settings to make sure I don't have to waste time during the day. Let me see. Yeah. All right, so this is just the snippet from what I actually used it for. It has a combination of different angles. This was, I think, my second or third month into weddings. So yeah.
Of their new beginning together as husband and wife.
I just want to be somebody who knows how to behave, but I'm not even close.
A good marriage must be creative. In a marriage, the little things are the big things. It is never being too old to hold hands. It is remembering to say, I love you at least once a day. And Gina and Joe,
like
if Uncle Mike were here, if he was standing beside you, he would say, never go to bed angry at night. Do not go to sleep until the anger is gone.
So,
it is having a mutual sense of values and objectives. It is standing together, facing the world.
We'll do it authentic the first time.
It is forming a circle of love that gathers in
and
the
then
whole
the second time
family.
around, I'm like, all right.
It is speaking words of appreciation and demonstrating gratitude in thoughtful ways.
What's that?
It is having the capacity
So you're like,
to
okay,
forgive and to
Yeah,
forget.
there's let's see.
It is giving each other an atmosphere in which each can grow. It is a
Usually
common
my
search
wife
for
is
the
with
good
me.
and the beautiful.
So yeah.
It is not only marrying the right person, it is being the right partner.
The right what?
Won't you save,
Typically throughout the day, when I'm listening to everything that's happening, I'm like,
save me,
but sometimes if it's a pretty standard wedding, it can be hard.
I've been
Usually I'll bank on speeches during the reception. If somebody close to them is their officiant, it usually is pretty good. If it's just the pastor of the church they go to, then it's not as personal. But yeah, typically, I mean, I have a ton of voiceovers throughout the day that I have something usually to pick from. All right, now coming down to actually getting the actual shots. So the way I pack my bag, doing these weddings, everything has to be so fast and ready to go. So I always have the drone just center right here, and then I have the controller right here. And And actually, like on my way in the morning to go and get sunrise stuff, I usually will have my phone and this already hooked up and the app open, so when I get there I can just be ready to go right away. Also, this is a really nice cord if anybody's looking. You can get these on Amazon. I had a really long one once, and just packing that was just annoying. And then ND filters if you need. I like to have those already on to the one I want before I get there so it doesn't waste time. Because, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure you need to have it off so you're not messing with the gimbal motor while it's on there, because you don't want to break that. So yeah, I pack that in there, and if we're on the run and I don't want to carry this bag, I can take this and clip it on my side here. And yeah, I think one of my next investments, I want to get the Mavic 2 Pro, but I think I also want to look into getting that new smart controller. I don't know if any of you've seen, because I mean, connection speed, I mean, just setting up the, opening the app, getting everything set up, I mean, that wastes time. And typically they're like, hey, can we get the drone out? And then they got to wait 5-10 minutes to have me get in the air, get everything set. So yeah, okay, so these are some of the settings I shoot with. I've kind of gone back and forth. First, when I first started, I thought that the footage needed to be the way I have my cameras. I have my cameras set to 1080p at 60 frames per second, so I can slow it down to 40% in post. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll just do that for my drone, and I wasn't a big fan of how grainy and soft the image looked. And found out that the drone is super smooth, and I actually didn't need to slow it down ever. If anything, I typically speed it up. So yeah, what I do is, if I do need to slow it down to fix any of the bumps or slight movements of the drone, that's why I set it to 30 frames per second. 24 is nice too. 30 just allows me, I mean, it's safe. If I need to, I can slow it down to 80%, which is okay. Another thing is white balance. Auto white balance. I think it looks super unprofessional if it's all of a sudden your white balance changes in the middle of a shot. So I try to make sure I set that manually. Style and color, that's all personal preference. I mean, I think the normal has more contrast in it, and the de-Cinelike, that's the only two options for mine. De-Cinelike it's more like raw, less contrast. And then you always want to set your shutter speed to double your frame rate. So I have mine set to 30 frames per second, so I set my shutter speed to 1/60. If I had it down to 24 frames per second, I'd bump it down to 1/50. So yeah, and if it's super bright, then that's when I put the ND filters on rather than adjusting my shutter speed. Typically I don't adjust this unless I have to do ISO because it's too dark. But yeah, so I typically do the cinematic mode. It's usually because everything is super smooth and slow. Like when you want to end your shot, it's not going to end when you release the controller. It's going to go another 5 feet in front of you. So I've had too many times, so you need to be careful of that, because I've had too many times where I've tried to fly it back to me, and then as I'm like approaching me, I release and it's still coming at me, so I have to like duck. So you want to make sure when you're done, you have to take it out of the cinematic mode. But yeah. Other than that, sometimes if I'm trying to get a fast shot really high, I'll put it in sport mode and just hit forward and just keep it forward for a long time until it's super smooth. But yeah, when I first started, I did like the quick shots, but there's too much jitteriness, I think, like it trying to correct itself all the time, so I wasn't a big fan of it. So I just learned how to manually control it with cinematic mode. All right, so these are my favorite moves for weddings. I think it gives it the most cinematic feel. Is the push, reveal up, that's just flying forward and having your gimbal down low and slowly bringing it up to reveal what you're looking at. It's probably my favorite. Also, the other one is parallax, and it's also, you can do that in the quick shots with the point of interest. I was doing that at first, but I noticed that it would circle and then it would try to correct itself by turning a little bit and circle more. So I actually just do it, I don't do a full circle, I just do it in cinematic mode. Just kind of pull back at an angle and turn at about the same pace. And then another one is just, I think that flying super low to things like cornfields is super unique because you can't really get that with a camera. And like right away you know it was filmed with a drone, even though it might be at eye level. But yeah, those are some of my favorite three. Lens flares, these are really, I love getting lens flares, and it's kind of hard to figure out where to get them. You just kind of have to start filming until you see how to get them. And I figured that adjusting your gimbal up and down when you're facing somewhat towards the sun will give you really good lens flares. And I find I get the best ones with my ND filters. It'll give you all these colors. And yeah, sometimes I'll even put them in my footage in post. I have, you can get lens flares and overlay your clips. The thing you have to be careful with that though is you need to be aware of where the sun is at in the video and kind of place them based off that. So you can tell in this one the sun is in the upper right, so the flare is actually going to flare down to the left. All right, so now into the post-production. This is by far my favorite part of the actual process. I love editing. Just putting something together with all the pieces and watching it when it's done. And really to me, the only thing that really matters to me is if I like it. I don't care if other people don't like it, and I think that'll help you get better, is if you like your own work. I think it'll help you grow and get better at it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I edit and techniques, and then some tricks you can try with drone footage you get, and then some of the sound design. So like I said earlier, you can use drone footage for establishing shots. That's like the main thing I use it for. It can also help you understand what the feeling of the day was like. Was it cloudy, sunny? I had a wedding back in October where it was rainy, and I had a drone shot from a previous wedding I had in Des Moines that was super cloudy. So the first shot I actually had of some windows that were wet, and then the next shot was like a super dark, cloudy Des Moines. So you just have to be careful. You don't want to have like start the video with like a rainy thing and then use a sunny day for your next shot. You want to make sure it flows smoothly. And then another way you can use it is transition. So like I use it a lot to transition between ceremony and reception portion. I'll maybe have like a pullback shot of the church, or maybe like a pullback shot of like their party bus leaving the church, stuff like that. And then that shot will transition into a shot of me pulling into the reception venue, stuff like that. And those shots, especially the ones of the bus, you have to be like ready. You have to have everything in the car ready to go and get your shot, land it, and sprint after the bus. So the first video I ever edited for a wedding was in iMovie. iMovie, I mean, I'm happy with iMovie. I pretty much made all my family video stuff in iMovie. But I figured I need to get a little more professional and get Premiere Pro. And I know some people use Final Cut. I chose Premiere because that's what Hollywood movies use. And I think it's a little easier to understand. Final Cut, to me, feels a little more drag and drop, and trying to tweak the settings might be a little more confusing. I edit with proxies. And proxies are just smaller file sizes than what you put in, because editing a bunch of 4K footage can be hard on your computer. And I mean, I have a decent computer. I think I have 32 gigs of RAM with a decent graphics card, and but still, it makes. I mean, I have it crash even at 32 gigabytes. So one thing I've learned is to always hit every like 5 minutes. I'm hitting Control S or Command S. But yeah, and then the timeline that I put the videos on, even though the footage is at 4K, 30 frames per second, I put it onto a 1080, 24 frames per second timeline. The reason I do 1080 partially is because I don't have the storage space for 4K to be export. I mean, I've done 1080 since August of last year, and I'm already up to like 9 terabytes of data from all the weddings I've done, and I just don't have, I mean, I can't imagine what that would be shooting at 4K for everything. But yeah, so I edit on that timeline. And then as for, so when I first started, I watched loads of YouTube videos on transitions, and I learned the basics of most of them, and eventually I just ran out of time to learn some of that stuff. So I use a lot of plugins for transitions and stuff, which for wedding videos, I don't use a ton of, kind of like the transitions I used in the drone video. I don't use a ton of that. It doesn't really fit well with wedding videos, but for those kind of transitions, I just plugins. I think I got, it was like, I don't know, 1,600 plus seamless transitions for $30 or something like that. Super easy to understand. You pretty much just drag the transition between the clips, maybe tweak a few settings. But yeah, that's it. And for me, who has to try to spit out a wedding video every 6 days, that saved me a lot of time rather than having to go through and tweak each transition. So some tricks that I've learned to maybe have your drone footage stand out a little more than the standard is you can use the vertigo effect, rotation, and then using the slight movements in your drone to the beat of the music. So I have examples of each of these. First one is vertigo. This one I don't use a ton just because I think it can be a little like overwhelming to see, but I think it really has a cool effect. So this first shot is just a normal shot with, and I did this on, I think the new Mavic Zoom can do this itself. I did this all in post with my drone, the Mavic Air. So I got this shot without, this is without. And then the next shot is with vertigo. It has the vertigo effect. And what it is, so in this shot I'm moving forward, but at the same time I'm gonna be zooming out. So it like adds an interesting perspective. Pay attention to the roads. Right now you can see the roads fine. And for me, trying to get these shots and change them up for each wedding is a challenge. So doing stuff like this in post can, so yeah, now you can't see the roads. They aren't in frame yet. And then the background is like getting smaller as you get closer to the water tower. What's that? Yeah, yeah, down there, yeah. All right, the other one is rotation. I think that this kind of gives it, I've only used this in one wedding so far. It was 2 weddings ago. I really liked it. I don't know, I think it's an opinion. It was used in Avengers Infinity War trailer, the very intro shot where it's in New York. And the shot's like at an angle and it like turns. I don't know if any of you've seen that. But so same thing. First shot is just normal shot, and then I think I have 2 shots with 2 different kinds of rotation. It's in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's really pretty out there. Okay, this is with rotation. This is with a 5 degree or 10 degree rotation from from positive 5 degrees to negative 5 degrees. The only thing with this is you have to be careful. Shooting in 4K and exporting in 1080p allows me to do this because I can zoom in enough and it won't lose that much quality. What it's doing though is at the same speed it's zooming in and rotating. You have to scale the thing. It's like 50% when you scale it to 1080 timeline, but it's zooming in and rotating so that you don't see the lines, because the video is just turning like this. But yeah, so that's another thing. And then then the last one is, say you got a really good shot, but then when you're looking at it in post, you notice that it wasn't as smooth as you wished. Maybe you hit the gimbal up too fast. So you can kind of use it based off the beat of the music. So like this shot, this was by Nick Nystrom. He's part of the group. I really liked this shot that he got, except it had a pretty noticeable, and I needed it to be fast because I was transitioning between clips fast. So when you increase the speed, it gets more noticeable. I'll just play it through. So I think I go 100%, 200%, 400%. I think I ended up putting it at like 400% or something. But yeah, you can see it kind of, he like bumps it and it goes up, which isn't, it's not that bad. I like them to be smooth. So yeah, so that's at 400%. And so in the actual video, I did a speed ramp. I started out fast, and then I landed that movement on a beat. And this is, you'll see in the video, but this is how I ended up using it. So yeah, play it again just in case anybody missed it. It's pretty quick. It was just on the beat, I just went. All right, so yeah. All right, and then the last portion of my presentation is the sound design. I just recently started doing this or focusing more on this. One thing that I learned is that without the sound design portion of it, it almost feels like it's a music video when you just have music. And I felt like it was my videos were missing something. So once I started adding like natural sounds, I think it took it to a whole nother level. And so this is what the timeline looked like for the drone video. Up here, these are just PNG files that had the logo in the top that said the pilot's name. It just appears, the name changes between each thing. This, I think, was the graphic popped up for the podcast. This is the podcast audio right here. These are the second song's drone videos. And some of these transitions are right here. Like you'll see, there's only a few transitions here. All these little tiny snippets. These are drone videos. And then everything down here is all the audio that I added. The long snippets are songs. And you'll notice that as the music gets louder, I use less background, like less noise. So as the music was louder, in this area of the song where it was quieter, I added in some sounds. And there's different types of sounds. There's layers of sounds. So like there's sounds like ambient noises, and then there's then you add like birds or people talking. And then there's also electronic sounds you can do. So like the very first drone shot was a hyperlapse. So I added some like I don't know who designed these, but they're time-lapse sounds, so that it sounds like time is moving fast. I think I did that on 2 different, same sound on 2 different shots. But what I did was I actually, first part. This is no sound design at all. And I mean, it's not bad. It just, to me, it feels like it's missing something. Backwards a little bit. Okay, so this next one is just the sounds, no music.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Got some wind, kind of. Happy with the bird noise in this one, but I think it needed something. This one I wasn't sure how to do, so I just added some like sci-fi warping or something like that. Wasn't really sure about this one either, so I just added some like deep humming. That one I set it so that it sounded like the speeding up, even though I just the speeding up.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
One of my favorite sequences of that was I think the waterfall in that next thing that comes up. I really like that shot. Actually, yeah, I have that. That's oh, I shouldn't. You'll see. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna show you one more example. This other one may help some of you that maybe don't want to buy a subscription to. So I get my stuff. It'll say later, but I get my stuff. Most of my sounds through Epidemic Sound. They have a huge variety. So I'll go there and I'll search birds. Let's see. Stuff like that. So I have another example of how I've added audio or what I've done to add audio. So I had a shot out at Iowa State the other day, and you'll kind of see. So I went to YouTube. I found this video of someone filming geese. And I was like, I kind of like that. I think it sounded good. And now I'll show you what the drone shot looked like and how I used that.
See what else you're searching for.
Oh yeah, yeah. The animals are jerks. All right, so here's what I used it with. If you see up in the top right, you'll see some. This one I just took audio from a YouTube video. I just went to I just searched like YouTube MP3 or something. I just took that clip and I used it 2 times. So yeah, I mean you don't necessarily need to have a subscription to get this money. Sometimes.
Of course, you're looking for Creative Commons, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I get my stuff from Epidemic Sound, sometimes YouTube, and sometimes if I'm at a place and something's happening, I'll just pull my phone out and record on the voice recorder. The thing you have to be careful with that is to make sure you're not making any noise. But yeah, those are all options. So yeah, so that's pretty much my presentation. What I can emphasize is that everything I know about filmmaking and drones, pretty much I've learned from YouTube. I didn't go to school for any of this. I just kind of had a passion for it. So pretty much if I'm stuck on something, I'll go, okay, how do I do this transition? And I'll go search it. A lot of a good chunk of the stuff I know I've gotten from the Facebook group that we're a part of. Even coming to this, last year, I think we had a guy come and talk about photo editing, and I still use some of the stuff that he taught us. But yeah, and then I think it comes down to either you admire what somebody does and you just admire it, or you're going to push yourself to learn how to do that. But I mean, it really comes down to you. So, yep, that's it.